Let me just get I best get the wiki up. Hold on a second. Yeah, I'm going to scroll right back. I watched these on the 30th of June. 30th of April, rather.
What? Oh, it is a while ago. Wait, we're live?
Oh, fine. I thought I'd lost my notes for episode 1, but I just for some reason called it season 7, episode 2. That was the one where at the beginning, episode 1 was where we saw a different... Well, look who it is. If it isn't fellow Dragoncaster Chris Mandle. How are you, sir?
I am very, very well. How are you, my friend?
Fine. You know what? We do... Hello, everybody. First of all, hello everybody. Apologies. Many apologies. We have been shouting out to all of you throners on the Succession Dragoncast episode. But what we realised is that via Twitter and stuff and there's no reason why you should. You know, if you join Dragoncast for our Game of Thrones rewatch or for House of Dragon and you're not interested in Succession, and there's no reason.
Which is fine. We don't judge. We don't judge, but
no judgment here. No kink shaming.
You are missing out a bit.
You are missing out though. But so we've been shouting out and apologising for the lack of Game of Thrones updates on that podcast, but clearly, you won't have heard it. So, and we just got a tweet tonight, and we've had some emails. What's happened? And I feel really bad, but I also feel quite touched that you really have missed them. It's like,
I was rushing back on the train when I saw that tweet. I felt a bit like someone who has two families. Who was
don't let one
rushing
wife
back
see the
with
other.
But just rushing back, being like, the other family know that I'm trying to get home.
Yeah.
I felt like I had like a bag of Lego just to sort of make up for it. Going, hold on, kids, I want to tuck you in at night. It's not too late, but it has been a big change for us all. I mean, I can't really get into it that much on the pod, but I have a full-time job now. I'm not self-employed, and that has been a change because it does change the way that we do the podcast.
Yes.
But also, we're doing season 8. We're doing double episodes, and so that means we have to spend more time watching, more time making notes, more time just sort of
thinking.
Whatever. Thinking, which does take up a lot of real estate. But I think the thing I would say about why it's taken us so long is that unlike season 8, we have been doing the journey to Winterfell in real time, so we've only just got there.
Yeah, that's it. We're living the dream. We are.
This is the teleportation season, which is fine. I'm full of nostalgia watching this because this is the only season I have never rewatched.
No, same actually. Yes, absolutely.
Same.
Yeah.
So as soon as I'm watching it over the last couple of weeks, I was like, God, I remember at the time. We did a podcast for season 8 previously on.
That's right. Oh my God, yeah, so we did.
I was reviewing it for the iPaper, and I was all up in my business with like, I don't think you can get from White Harbour to Winterfell in the time it takes for someone to get,
I've done my calculations according to George's maps.
Got my what's those things that they use? You see the foreman using them. Like
the
stick.
The stick with the clicker on it.
The clickers. Yeah. That's what I was doing first time. I was watching these episodes and I was like, look, I know some of this doesn't make a lick of sense, but it's great, and it's so good to be.
I'm really glad.
Back.
I've enjoyed nestling back into our Westerosi bosom.
So good, because I think this season, well, up to this point, these 2 episodes, is all about nostalgia. It's all about muscle memories of places. They really do a good job of like not shot for shot, but like alluding to scenes from previous seasons.
Yes,
and I've just loved it. Good.
I'm glad. I thought you were going to rag on it. I thought
look. I do think the broader points about where Game of Thrones went, we've covered. And if people want to hit me up for some bonus content, I'll send voice notes for a small fee of my theses about things. But I do think watching season 7, I was like, it's all going a bit crazy, but the action's really good. The character's really good.
Yeah.
It's just not coagulating. It's all sitting one on top of the other, So you watch it now and you're like, I know which bits of this I need to invest in. And there's things like The Night King that I feel like, there's this episode 1. Let's talk about episode 1 first.
Yeah.
It ends with the Night King and the White Walkers going to the Last Hearth, which is this kind of like point in the north that is like the last kind of village or settlement before the wall.
Yes.
And they decimate it, right?
Yeah.
And they leave
just obliterated the whole.
They leave this swirly symbol on the wall with like a dead child who I think is from House Umber.
So Ned. His name's Ned.
His name's Ned, yes, because he's probably named after Ned Stark, right? This was a thing that I think is touched on in an earlier episode.
Yeah.
So you do this, and I remember at the time being like, "Oh, this symbol must mean something." And obviously, watching it now, we're like, "It fucking doesn't."
Yeah, exactly. It's like watching Lost again. Don't need to worry about the polar bears. Never explained.
Oh my god, I've not done it yet. Have you done a Lost rewatch before?
No, I've tried to encourage members of the East household to join me in it. They start and then they go, how many seasons of this is there?
and when do we find out about the polar bears? You're like,
and I'm like, maybe this isn't. But yeah, all I can think about are the patterns in the books.
I don't really remember. I don't think so because we just know so little about.
It's so visual as well. I mean, lest we forget. The pattern is the first thing pretty much that we see in Game of Thrones, the whole of the thing.
In the pilot.
In the pilot. The horse, the parts of the horses, weren't they, in the snow? And we've seen them dotted around since then. Almost every season has had...
Fists of the First Men when they attack the Night's Watch.
Yeah.
There's dismembered things. It's all kind of...
And I don't know whether it's just passionate fans, the fact that we love it all so much is that we're trying to read into it. Is this a language? Does it say something? Is this like the pods in Arrival? Are they speak? All this kind of stuff. I think we can just
where I went with this. I was like, it's like Arrival.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, it's just like a calling card. It's like Zorro. It's like it's. To anyone under the age of 40, Zorro was like a Lone Ranger kind of like character. I think Antonio Banderas played him in a film.
Yes,
And his calling, it's like the Pink Panther leaving a white glove. It's like this Zorro used to leave a swish of a Z in some wood or something. I think it's just like this was the White Walkers. Hello.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also we know on the rewatch we're like, look, we're not going to get this resolved, so let's just not spend too much energy on it. But it's like if the whole thing was just like blood splattered, you'd think, oh, maybe a bear got in here, and the show doesn't want you to go, well, it might be the White Walkers, but it might be a bear. They have to go, it was the fucking White Walkers.
Yeah.
But we even get that down because one of the really fascinating things about season 8. They don't have enough locations to fill the intro. So they do this new thing where they have the tiles freezing the north just to buy like 20 seconds each way.
Yeah, there were special effects in the titles. And I was going to ask
you... And they go into the castles.
Yeah.
This is a new thing for season 8. I completely forgot about it until I watched it. And I was going, they've only got 3 locations. And even like, I don't even think the King's Landing one is tenuous, but in order to sort of pad it out, we go into the castles. And what they do really well, we've talked about intros before. I love TV intros. I think intros are so fascinating because they tell you everything you need to know about the show or not. Yeah. Game of Thrones has such an intricate one, and they've got this problem, right, where they go, well, what are we going to do? We haven't got 9 locations. Yeah. So what they've done with Winterfell is they go in and they actually show you the schematics of the castle, which we need to know for episode 3 because it's important to know where the crypts are, where the library is, where the halls. Yeah. And I just think that is really, really clever to go, this is a problem, and we're going to turn it into an opportunity.
Do you think they did it because of the long night? Or do you think? I think that's a great explanation.
Well, I think they just went
like that.
I think they just went, what are we going to do?
Well, yeah, we've got to do something. Yeah, because I enjoyed it because you saw like You saw the skull, the dragon skull.
Yes, it goes through. Yes,
next
exactly.
To the scorpion. It was great. It was.
It's different, but it's just showing they are. Look, I think the people who do the intro are smart. When we did House of the Dragon, I remember we were we didn't get the intro for a couple of episodes. Do you remember? Because it wasn't finished.
That's right. Yes.
And we finally got it, and we were like, okay, I can't read any of the sigils because what's all the blood doing? I still don't know what the intro was about.
Yeah, I think I wish I had the foresight and attention to pay attention to intros. It's a bit like scores, you know. It's like I wish I had that layer within me. I just don't. So like I used to go and I used to be a film critic, so I used to go and watch films like all the time. And like when it was the big MCU films or the big Star Wars films or this, that, and the other, I'd be just watching. I'd be sat there watching just like a scene that when nothing particularly exciting is happening. All of a sudden, some music will crop up and people will go, "Oh,
yeah,
oh my god, it's Ray's theme. That means that." But I'm like, "What the fuck?"
Now listen. I'm a smidge away from that, and I think definitely with Thrones a little bit, people go, "Ooh, they've done the Reigns of Castamere in A minor," and I'm like, "How do you know that?"
Yeah,
but definitely, I mean, you and I have both done the Marvel beat over our long and established careers, where you go, someone goes, "Oh my God, Scarlet Witch is wearing the helmet from the comics," and you're like, "Okay, but like."
I mean, it must be great to be that tapped into it because it must add another level of like. And
they do it so intentionally.
You know, to become that immersed, it must be great.
But I don't know all the songs.
No.
But anyway,
can we just remind ourselves of the furore around? Because we did the premiere for this season in Belfast.
Yeah.
With all of the cast were there.
What was that like?
It was fantastic. They did this amazing party. It was.
Tell me.
It was full on. I mean, it was a full on HBO.
Where was it at? Was it in a castle?
No, they didn't. It was at some Belfast. It was just like a conference thing, like their big whatever. I'm sure someone will tell me where it was. But they decked it out brilliantly. They had like all the vodka fluges, the ice sculpture of the dragon. They had the throne hanging from the ceiling, and you know it was a proper do.
Yeah. Good canapes.
Oh, amazing canapes, but it was just full of all the cast were there. They all just like completely went for it.
Because it's the last time. They know this is the last. Like, we love the people that work on this show. Yeah. They gave a long portion of their lives.
Yeah.
None of them have had anything close to the success since, and they never will. They just never will.
No,
right?
Exactly.
And so there must have been this last days of Rome sort of energy.
Yeah, and also I think because they were kind of off shift, sort of. Or so stuff like, you know, people like Maisie had been protected. You know, Dinklage wasn't there. Dinklage never went there, and Lena Headey wasn't there. Never.
Yeah, they were both outliers, weren't they?
They just never went to any of them really, apart from the American ones. But they were all cutting a rug on the dance floor. I was dancing with Jorah. I was dancing with Missandei, like twerking away. It was a full on like brilliant party. I was with Jonathan Ross and Jane, who at the time was just about to start.
She was supposed to do the aborted prequel.
Making the aborted prequel. Less said about that.
I think that is still a sore subject, isn't it?
It's an extreme.
And I don't even know if we can talk about what we know about that.
We cannot talk about that at all. Although I will say that her right hand guy was a guy called James Kay.
Oh my God, yes, James Kay, I know him.
Or James Farrell, who's now married
Ali's
to
brother.
Ali, who used to work for me at Holy Moly, and who you know as well. Lovely. Like, his brother James is now married to Adam Kay. And
Power couple.
He was going to produce Blood Moon with Jane.
That was the working title, yeah.
And he went on to set up the production company that made This Is Gonna Hurt, which is the book written by his husband. So, you know... that probably wouldn't have happened had Blood Moon.
I love anyway, like James and Adam, power couple. He does the books, he does the adaptations.
Yeah.
So tuned in. They must be living their best lives.
100%. The first time I saw them before then, they were at Jonathan's Halloween party, dressed up as like a courgette and a piece of broccoli, and just kind of like just happy to be there, chatting away. And then the next thing, they are literally running goddamn Hollywood. So fair play.
Literally,
Anyway,
big cigar in their mouth.
So
my
my point was that I think it's difficult to remember just the pitch of excitement around this episode.
Can they do it? The whole thing was, look, we've been anticipating the end of this show for the best part of a decade.
Yeah.
Can you land the plane? And what does landing the plane even look like? Because we just know so little about this. Yeah. I did a piece for The Guardian when this season was about to air that was about anti-spoiler culture. And it was about Game of Thrones was ending. We had Endgame, the big Marvel Avengers cap, the same year.
Still
and
in my books, one of the greatest superhero film that will never be bettered.
Unreal. And I'm not even a big Marvel person, but Infinity War, Endgame, just absolutely amazing. So Game of Thrones, Endgame, and the third one in the Star Wars new trilogy comes out in the same year. So I did this piece for The Guardian that was about spoiler culture, and it was about how scripts self-destruct, anti-drone technology, cast members don't know. Tom Holland said that he filmed something for Endgame and he wasn't even allowed to be told who he was fighting in a scene. So he's like, it's like you're fighting this green screen, and he goes, "Who is it?" And they're like, "We can't tell you."
Yeah.
Because if he goes and does a press thing when he goes, "Oh, I fight Hulk," when he's been brainwashed or whatever, they all go,
like, "Oh my God." Yeah.
So you've got, and it's just chaotic, right? So I wrote this piece about how the fever pitch around spoilers is just relentless. Now, I think just really briefly, because we haven't really talked about the episode yet, but what I want to say before we start, House of the Dragon Season 2 is filming.
Yes.
And we do not advocate for it, but you can go online, you can find photos, people on set, you can see scenes being filmed. Oh my God.
I've not even
There's
looked.
Stuff there.
I've tried not to look.
But what I think is fascinating, and I think it's good, Season 8 of Game of Thrones, it was like, we're going to put people that aren't even on the show anymore on set to throw off the people that might photograph what's happening. And now I feel like we've kind of got back to normal culture after
you're right,
crazy peak period. There are spoilers for House of the Dragon out there. I just want to warn people. I've not looked, but I'm still on some subreddits. Yeah. And there's spoiler tag central. And I think that's kind of like, look, that's just how it's got to be. That's how the sausage is made.
They're there if you want them. Yeah.
They're there if they want them. But anyway, this comes out, season 8 comes out. I remember episode 1 and episode 2. I mean most of it, but it's just so good. It really hits you in the feelings. It's a really sentimental couple of episodes. It's all about.
Well, it's like you said. It's they've made a concerted effort. I think they'd listened to a lot of the shit that that was being spoken and written, and the people that were raising a lot of valid questions about the way that it was going and the decision to end it. So they had the nostalgia trip that you kind of mentioned is a real surefire kind of cheap win as to get those fans back on board.
Yeah.
And I'm not complaining about that at all, but
they've just got to pull it in, right? If you're not at Winterfell, what the fuck are you doing on this show? If you're not, if you don't need to be there, why are you here? This is why the sand snakes get killed. This is why, Dawn. Not Dawn. This is why Highgarden gets wiped out in season 7, right? We're like, what are we going to do with the Queen of Thorns at this point in the show, right? Yeah. So I kind of, at the time, I'm going, oh, why is Gendry there? Why is Brienne there? But listen, we want to see them all there. And what I love is that the thing that this show understood more than anything was, if you spend a decade with people, fictional or not, you grow to care about them. And there's there's not a lot of plot in this episode.
No,
but there's a lot of feelings, and I mean,
when you're giving up nearly 10 minutes of the episode to horny Arya, that's when you know that the plot is pretty thin.
So So the thing that starts, I just thought this is like Westeros Warburton ad where this little urchin is like running through the town, scrambling to get a look at something. And I was watching it going,
"Oh, she's so pretty, governor." Yeah,
and it's the royals descending on Winterfell, which is exactly what happened in the pilot.
Yeah,
lovely way of doing that. Lovely way of just cutting out some of the bullshit and just getting on with it. Daenerys and Jon arrive. They meet at the Great Hall or whatever they call it in Winterfell, and they got the White Walkers are coming, aren't they? Yep. They're sort of on the way.
Yeah. So Arya's really happy to see Jon.
Mm-hmm. That's a really sweet.
I loved that scene. I mean, I loved all of the reunion hugs.
Yeah.
And you can just and I love it, particularly the Stark children reuniting, because, like I say, 10 years has passed since they last met, which is just mental. You'd be on Jerry Springer if he was still alive. Do you remember this man?
And I feel like the show didn't know at the time, because like Sansa and Jon have like never had a scene together in the first season, right? This was this whole thing where they didn't know that this is what was going to go. So you have these moments where they're actually having to like make more of it. And I'm not criticizing it, because I'm like, who would have thought back then? But it's just so much has happened that like, Bran and Jon reunite, and you're like, were they close? Like, we had Arya and Jon, we knew those guys were tight.
We knew they were close because of Needle and all
Sansa and Arya, definitely. But then Bran is kind of there, and he is like such a vibe killer, isn't he? Being like, oh, I'm not really. They always go, oh, Bran has visions, in the tone that some like your mum would say if it's like he's queer. It's like this weird kind of like.
He's a confirmed bachelor. Bran's a confirmed bachelor.
It's like, as long as there's no follow-up questions, Bran has visions, and everyone just goes, okay. Cool.
Because he does such a great job of kind of like just heading you off at the pass, going, I'm fucking weird. But no, you're right. The fact that Bran was a baby,
a tiny little, a
tiny little baby who was like crippled the last time most of them saw him, like barely was asleep in a coma for, I think, when Jon left.
Yeah, he didn't get to say goodbye, and then he's now
and he's now just this like 6'5" like nutter in a wheelchair.
And he's also like, I've invented the wheelchair while you've been away. He reminds me of like if you have like a sort of half cousin and you like hang out with them once every 10 years.
Yeah, you end up going on holiday. It's like, what have you been up to?
Oh, you're really into vegan leather. Cool.
It's like, oh shit, he plays chess. Oh no. Hiding your Nintendo Switch. Yeah. Yeah,
you're like, so you're really, really into plant milk.
But but yeah, the Bran buzzkill is legendary, and I think they leaned into the comedy of it a little bit.
They do. Well. That's the thing. I thought this episode was actually quite funny.
Yeah.
They play it off as a comedy of errors where they just go, oh shit, what are we going to do with him? But it's funny because, again, there's a real sense of propulsion. He literally says to everyone's having a nice time, and he goes, we haven't got time for this. Your dragon's been killed and he's been reanimated. And it's, we've talked about Bran's powers when we did season 7. I've got this theory that certain things trigger his ability to see,
So it's like, she's the one with dragons. Oh, hang on a sec, didn't I?
Where have I seen this before? It's literally like, I have this thing where like, I screen grab everything. Like if I get like a bill, I screen grab it. If I see a coat I like, I screen grab it. And so what I sometimes do when I'm on the train and there's like no signal is I just pick a random month and just look through my photos.
What, just to kind of like, there's my council tax bill.
Just because I can't. But what I find is I'm like, me and Rob went on holiday, and then I'm like, oh, there's my water bill from 2020. And it's just like everything's in one place. And when I was watching this, I was like, am I Bran? Because sometimes I'll say to Rob, I'm like, hey, we were going to buy a coffee table and we never did. And here's the ones I found 3 years ago. And I'm like, oh my God, it must be exactly what it's like to live with Bran Stark.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, yeah.
I thought everyone did this. I thought everyone went on photos and just chose a month and just like luxuriated in it.
No, I like the featured thing that comes up on the home screen
1 year ago.
But it's like, it's nice when it's like, oh, when the kid's little, and then but every now and then it will like. I put up some really disgusting stuff on Instagram and Twitter, and every now and then I'll be looking down and there'll just be like a picture of a dog throwing up. And it's just like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, sometimes I find like the most random images. Like there was this viral picture a few years ago of this woman choking a seagull. Did you ever see that?
Yes. Yeah.
It like
the
stole
one I
her
always
chips
have is
and
that...
she grabbed it like this, and the seagull's eyes are popping. I have that on my phone for some reason.
The one that always turns up on mine is the guy that poisoned himself in court. The one that looked like. Do you remember the meme of like just like taking a shot of like bleach or whatever it was?
But you're just like there's this weird thing. This is what it must be like being Bran Stark. Where you're like, I might need this as a if someone's like, oh, I had such a bad day, I'm going to send them the woman choking the seagull. So I sort of watched it now, and I'm like, oh, I kind of get where Bran's coming from of just having these random things.
And there is some conflict in it. So Jon has a lot of explaining to do. So this is where a lot of
there is tension.
I guess the dramatic tension from this episode certainly comes from, which spills over for the next couple of episodes. I think up until the long night. So basically, we saw a couple of seasons ago Jon being declared king of the North, and Lady Mormont. Made that impassioned speech and basically turned it around and got him crowned. Now she's fucking livid because she crowned him and he's rocked up and bent the knee to Daenerys, who's not even from the North. So it's like a classic someone from Carlisle bemoaning someone from Derby.
It's like me having the audacity to try and conquer the print media industry in London, where they go,
yeah, exactly.
You are not from here.
You're not from here.
Who told you could go in the fashion cupboard and wear some trainers? Get out. That's what it was like.
And it's it's a fair point, and Jon, and I'm not sure Jon does a great is particularly good at explaining it. And it's like one of those tropes that you get in drama, certainly in rom-coms, where it's just like, wait, but if I could just, I never got a chance to tell them why such and such happened. Because
I find like one thing that annoys me is just like, look, they all know. The show has to move it forward, right? So you've got people going, we made you king and you came back with a foreign invader.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but guys, White Walkers are literally... Are you not listening to Bran? Like, the White Walkers are coming.
Yeah.
The other thing I find a lot of problems with, and this is maybe because I am a woke lefty, I'm like, Daenerys is not a foreign invader. She was born on Dragonstone, which is in the Seven Kingdoms. They do this thing where they go, she came over on a boat. Like, Priti Patel would be like...
A little bit of politics. Yeah.
Priti Patel would be like, get out of here. And she's like, no, I'm born here. And they're like, there's no jobs. Get out. Anyway, that's me being political just for a minute. But it's interesting to me that they just hate her and she's like, I'm from here. Yeah. I'm from here. I've been like, I'm... Anyway.
It's quite xenophobic, Game of Thrones. They're all...
But I do think as well, it's like, it has... The only tension is we have to have these people make peace with themselves. And we can't just have them go, well, the White Walkers are coming and they've got a dragon. And it's the same thing with Jaime in episode 2, which we'll maybe touch on later.
Yeah.
Where he literally pushes Bran out of a window and Bran's like, well, if I told on you, you would not be able to help us fight the Night King. And it's like, hang on, when you like allowed Littlefinger to get killed because you were like, here's everything Littlefinger did that was super shady.
Yeah.
And you're like, what if Littlefinger was going to help you in the army of the dead? But with Jaime, he's like, you might be useful. We'll keep you around.
I think he knew that that Littlefinger would have been pretty useless in the long night.
Yeah. I also think, I think a lot of Bran is like, it's like, he's like, I need I've seen that I need you, so you can stick around. But also,
yeah.
I do think there's part of him that is just like a shady little bitch. Like, we talk about him being like, he's not the three-eyed.
It's not this monk kind of figure.
He's like 85, 86% there. There's 14% of him that's like, I just love drama.
That's still a 17-year-old cunt.
That is just like, well, I'm just going to like piss everyone off.
That's puberty for you. That's puberty for you.
It is.
Yeah.
The tension between Daenerys and Jon and Sansa, like, I'm not super, like, invested in at this point.
I didn't buy it because I think, like you just said, it's like, that it's not going to last. It's not going to become an issue because there are greater things to
But I'll tell you the thing that I loved at the time, I loved even more now, is the stuff with Sam.
Well, the Targaryen, the Aegon.
It's so well done, and I don't feel like I give them credit because I assume it sort of just fell into place for them. But last season, Sam's father, Randall, and his brother Dickon were burnt by Daenerys because she beat their army during this invasion, and they wouldn't swear fealty to her. She killed
against Jaime's wishes.
Against Jaime's wishes, Tyrion was like, "Let them take the black."
Was it Jaime?
Yeah,
no,
I think it was. I think Tyrion, because Jaime sort of jumped in the water,
and Jorah was there as well. Yeah.
I think Jorah was getting his grayscale looked at. I think it was Tyrion.
It already began again. Sorry. Yes, it was Tyrion.
We're going to get a lot of abuse online about this. So the idea was, look, they're commanders. They're like an old house. Keep them. She gets rid of them. Now, at the time, you sort of watch it and you go, "Oh my god, she's just girl bossing the house down boots. Like, what a badass." But actually, it has such a knock-on effect, and it actually is part of her downfall because Sam has this excruciating meeting where she's like, "You killed Jorah. What do you need?" And he goes, "Look, I stole some books and I stole my dad's sword. Can you like make sure he doesn't tell me off?" And she's like, "That won't be a problem.
I've already handled that. Yeah,
because he's dead." And he goes, "Oh. Well, this is heartbreaking, even though he abused me." And he goes, "My brother will understand." And she's like, "He will," in the sense that he's dead. And it's awful. I mean, what I think about Sam Tarly, and he's played by John
Bradley West. John West Bradley. Or just John Bradley. Sorry, John.
Let's just call him John.
Yeah, John.
He's one of the few men on this show that really, the tears fall thick and fast. And it's so well timed because this show is about a lot of male bravado. Mm-hmm. But Sam, it is devastating. He didn't have a good relationship with his family, but he loved them. And
you always got the sense that he felt like, it's just John Bradley. Sorry, John. He felt like he was always trying to prove to them. Whenever he talked about them, he knew what he was. He knew how he was in their eyes, but he thought that actually, you know what? I'm going to make them proud of me. I'm going to become. I'm going to the city. I'm going to the Citadel. It's all of that.
I get my PhD.
Yeah.
They wanted him to go to, boot camp, go to the army.
They wanted him to go join the army. He was like, I'm not. I'm going to Bath University to study social sciences.
Oh my god! Yeah, devastating. Oh my. I thought you were going to say English literature.
No, it wouldn't be. It'd be social sciences.
Yeah. But I do think with the show, the faster it got, the further it got to the end. There's not a lot of room. Like, I know there's not a lot of good dads, a lot of good siblings in this show, but like Theon and Yara have not once been like, "Our dad's dead, and our uncle killed him." They're just kind of like,
just get swept
"Dad's a cunt."
Well, there's just not
because they haven't got time. Yeah. They haven't got time, and I'm just saying, I get it. But it's what I loved about this scene is that there's someone who we met Randall and Dickon briefly. Yeah. We do not, but they established so clearly with this scene in season 8, episode 1, that Sam's family have been murdered, and
that he's the last remaining. Yeah,
and that is what throws him out, and he goes, "Shit, I need to speak to Jon," and we get this very rapid kind of attempt to kind of overthrow Daenerys, really, because Jon is the legitimate heir. Yeah,
it was. How did you? That was always in my mind going to be such an amazing dun dun that it was never ever going to live up to that. But it was done in such typical Sam fashion, where it's just like, just wait a minute, you're Aegon Targaryen.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, I can't be. You are. Oh, fucking hell.
Well,
you know,
what I thought with the rewatch is just how much it echoes Sam insisting that Jon is elected the Night's Watch.
And do you think...
God, oh my God, what am I? I'm getting brain fart. The elected leader of the Night's Watch. I can't remember what the official title is.
Yeah.
Jon doesn't want to do it. Sam's like, if you don't do it, someone worse is going to do it, and they won't be able to be the person we need. And I thought there was a lot of that with this, that he was like, I know you don't want to be, but we live in a feudal system where having the right to be king is a pretty good reason to be king. But also, I think it really... Jon happens to have been a very good people person. He's the Northerners love him.
Yeah.
He's gone to the Night's Watch. He was a reject. He's won people over. He goes north of the Wall. He makes all of these people
united the Wildlings. Exactly.
And Sam is kind of like, look, you have the qualities of a king, and you actually are the heir to the throne. And so he's like, if one of these wasn't enough, the two together is like super powered. And it's interesting because this is where the show, I think, does sort of lose. Like, we haven't had enough time with Daenerys since she came over here, but she's suddenly like the broody, like cross, like pissy sort of sidekick where she's like, you go, oh yeah, have you ever... All of your conquering has been done with brute force. Jon's never used brute force to conquer. And she's
used to people obeying her as well. She isn't used to
principle.
people...
Out of principle, right?
Yeah.
She has all these titles. Do you remember there's a scene... We actually didn't watch this episode in season 7, but Jon meets Daenerys and Missandei says, this is Queen Daenerys Targaryen, Khaleesi of the Great Grass Sea, Breaker of Chains, the Unburnt, the rah-rah-rah. And then Davos goes, this is Jon Snow. He's king in the north. You know, the whole point is he actually could come up with all these titles, right? Yeah. He could say that he's the defender of the wall, that he's the liberator of the free folk, and he could come up with everything. He doesn't use that, and Daenerys has these titles that's all she has. Yeah. And the threat of the dragons, the threat of violence. Yeah. I know it's hard in the middle of a civil war. It's not even civil, it's sort of just war, isn't it? For her to preach her values, but this whole trip to Westeros has not really worked, has it?
No, not at all. Not at all. And it's, the resentment of Daenerys and her resentment of that, is the pulse that runs throughout the season.
Yeah.
Really.
It's not like she's going to different houses. I know maybe you can't because everyone's in the middle of war, but it's not like she's gone and said, look, meet me, meet my dragons, meet my people, this is what I stand for. She's not doing the door-to-door campaigning that politicians have to do if they want to win an election. She's just gone, I'm just going to burn anyone that doesn't do what I say. So the stakes are set in this episode, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
It's very clear that we're not supposed to trust Daenerys. And I felt with the rewatch, you lose her. We lose her. And I want to give them credit. I think it's intentional. I don't think it works, but it is intentional.
What, did we just emotionally kind of like start
just disconnect?
Detach ourselves from her,
Yeah, suddenly she feels like a stranger in the show. Whereas for a long time, I felt like she was the protagonist. And you sort of go, oh, it's always been Jon.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I felt.
Yeah, no, it's true. A couple of things that are, we'll mop up episode 1 and then take a break and come back for episode 2. Mm-hmm. The Karstark sigil is the best sigil. I loved it.
What's the sigil?
The sigil is just like dead simple. It's like if Smashing Pumpkins had a sigil, it would be this. It's just like this proper goth black and white sun. It's really nice. That was just
it's oh my God, it makes me think of Audio Slave. Do you remember them?
Yeah.
Chris Cornell's band. It's like kind of a bit like... Because they had a song called Black Hole Sun.
Oh, what great.
That is like... It's quite...
Soundgarden.
Oh, what did I say? Oh, yeah. Okay. Audio Slave was the other band he had?
That's right. Correct. The offshoot. There were some great lines in this as well. There's some really good lines. I enjoyed... who was the poor girl Poxel Taker in the year. That was Bran, wasn't it? Did Bran say that about someone? I think he did, didn't he?
Yeah.
I enjoyed that.
Which is such a... So if you... I'm sorry, but that is like someone... That's like a doctor being like, you're going to die next year. You're like, sorry, what?
Question, and I'm sure I know the answer is probably effects and CGI and stuff like that. But House of the Dragon, intricate, beautiful harnesses and reins and dragon riding equipment. I know. Now it's like, hang the fuck on. Despite the fact that Tyrion designed the contraption for Bran to ride a horse, you'd have thought that there would have been some kind of thing, wouldn't you? By now.
I think it's such a good point, because it's almost like, I mean, there's this theory with Game of Thrones that like, because the maesters like suppress magic, that a lot of like civilian development just doesn't happen, right? Like, I don't really know how their like irrigation system works, but it does feel like
right, okay, yeah.
That there's like a lot of technology. Sorry, there's a lot of technology that doesn't seem to work. But I just, they've invented a wheelchair and they go, I think with a dragon, let's just sit on the spikiest part and
just hold on. You'd like going vertical, 700 foot in the air.
Now, I will say, first of all, the great foreshadowing is Daenerys' dragons can't find anything to eat in the north. They are like starving.
Yeah.
The dragon, the Targaryen, the fire is getting extinguished up in the north. Love that.
Yeah.
However, the sort of whole new world thing that Jon and Daenerys do on the dragons, I was just like, really? Doesn't make me feel anything. It doesn't make me feel wonderment or whimsy. I was just like, what the fuck is this? I hate. This is what I don't like about the show.
Bit naff.
Because I get it, but it's also like, I get they've got a budget, they need to spaff up the wall, but I'm like, could you not just do some like... Yeah. I just want to see Arya and Sansa hanging out, or like Bran being like, oh my god, Arya, did you know that like when Joffrey died this happened? Or like, oh my god, do you want to see the explosion at the Sept of Baelor?
Yeah, it was fucking...
If really I was Bran... I'd be the equivalent of showing YouTube videos of like kittens exploding. I'd be like, guys, do you want to see something fucked up? Or, because the Hound is in this episode, isn't he? He obviously comes to Winterfell.
Yeah.
I'd be like, do you guys want to see the Hound get beaten up by Brienne?
Yeah, exactly. Look at this. This is his thigh bone sticking out of his like shorts. Yeah, all of that, and we've not really touched upon that. The Hound, there was a great moment with the Hound and Brienne reuniting, and that I loved that kind of like the sidebar of them being proud parents to Arya in some
oh my god,
some
I love that.
So good.
There is a good line. Arya. It's a really interesting Arya episode because she meets Gendry, Jon, the Hound, Brienne again. She meets Brienne in this episode, right? Or is that
yes.
Episode?
Yeah.
And they're all kind of a bit like, whoa, we thought you were going to die. And she's like, no, I've just murdered like a ton of people.
Yeah.
But there's this really good line where the Hound says to her, you left me here to die. And she goes, I robbed you first.
Exactly, yeah. It was brilliant.
And then he goes, you're a cold little bitch, aren't you? I guess that's why you're still alive. And she's just a bit like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a bit of a... There's definitely been a bit of a reset of Arya in between the end of season 7 and season 8. They're shaping her up for...
She's funnier. She's got a bit of back talk.
There's the line between her and Jon where Jon was just like, how did you sneak up on me? She's like, how did you survive a knife through the heart?
This is something that I'm not into, because I'm like, when did she find that out? And also,
when did that happen? Yeah.
When is Jon gonna? I would just love Jon to be like, I was brought back to life. I don't know either. Like,
Sis, you'll never believe it. It was fucking mental.
Because if she was like, well, I changed my face.
Yeah.
You would,
Yeah, he'd be like, honestly, the last thing I saw was Oliver. Then I woke up and there was a fucking red priestess there. I don't know what happened. And she's just like, I know. She's like, I was blind for a day.
Yeah. But this is, again, you just think Bran would be like, so how did he survive a knife through the heart? I'll show you.
Yeah, exactly.
He needs like a sort of projector where he can just put it on the wall.
Yeah, there needs to be a USB port in the back of Bran.
I do think there is a tendency with the show at this point where it's like, oh my god, we haven't even got time to get into this.
Yeah.
But I think Jon would find what Arya's been up to really fascinating.
Yeah. 100%.
And the thing I miss, the thing I mourn is like I just want an hour of her being like, and then. And what was the name of the guy that she killed in Bravos? That Meryn Trant.
Yeah.
I'd love her just to be like, so I pretended I was an 11-year-old girl, and then because he's a nonce, and then I just like poked him in the eye and killed him. I'd love her to just and him going. But also, that's great. That.
Also, even on a bigger scale, John, I got revenge for the death of Mother and Rob. You know?
Oh yeah. Also, Rickon's dead. Has anyone told anyone yet? They've had.
But I think some of that could have. That could have been resolved. There could have been like a cut scene where you arrive and it's just like you catch the end of a conversation where it's just like, how did you fucking swap your face? Anyway, Bran, that would have been.
I think that.
Tantalizing.
I think they should have done. I would loved if they went to the Godswood, like big deal for the Starks. I'd love them to have been like, we miss Rob. We miss Mum, we miss Dad, we miss Rickon. I just love something. It's weird that Rickon died like 2 weeks ago. And they're just, no one's like, isn't there another one of us?
Exactly.
But, Rickon, like, we said this when we did season 6, so young when he starts. They don't know what to do with him. I think the feeling is from the showrunners, like he's not gonna kill the Night King, so let's not worry about him. But this is my one gonna use my book card to say that the book, the tease of where it's about to go with him is really exciting.
Oh, is it? Okay.
He's been hidden by some secret Stark loyalists on Skagos, which is an island just off Hardhome, which is loyal to the North, and they all are like crazy cannibals, and they're all like feral. And Davos at the end of the last book is told by the head of House Manderley, which is not my family but a similar family in the north. They said, look, go and if you can find Rickon from the island of Skagos, if you can find him, bring him. He's the heir to the north.
Very cool.
We'll overthrow the Boltons. I think that is very, very exciting. I really want to know where it goes.
You'll never find out because it's never going to write the fucking book.
There's a fucking writer's strike.
It's a writer's strike. Well,
George R. R. Martin's been on write strike for 40 years.
It's been on since the last writer's strike.
Publisher said when... I know he has. He's literally...
No one told him the previous one had ended.
We love you, George. We love you, George. Sorry.
Oh, dear. Just finish the books, mate. What was this one called?
A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms.
Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, season 8, episode 2.
And it refers specifically to Brienne, who becomes...
one of my favourite scenes.
The first woman knight, which I love.
I just loved that they... I love the goofy smile that they must have planned, and she just couldn't... She was like... It was great.
It's lovely. It's lovely. And I
really
think, like... Yeah, definitely a sense that the show's trying to rectify a few of its attitudes, and you might... But
you might argue that they fuck it up and then pretty soon as well, again.
What if the woman who can't have kids goes crazy?
Yeah.
But I think it's really nice, and this episode is very sentimental because everyone's kind of stuck at Winterfell. Everyone arrived last episode, everyone's stuck there now, and all they've got... It's this last night before the end of the world.
And as I've always said, Game of Thrones always does a great eve of war.
Absolutely.
Always does.
I'm really looking forward to talking about the battle. I think the battle itself is actually going to be really interesting.
It's my favourite. It's one of my favourite episodes ever. But
what I love about this episode is just everyone is... I mean, we go in being like, look, you're all going... Not all of you are going to die, but the characters genuinely... I mean, Arya and Gendry have sex in this episode, which is really interesting. At the time, I felt like, it's so like shipping different characters, like, like...
I get what you mean. It was just kind of like, let's just have a bit of this. And a bit,
when I watched it, I was like...
That's quite touching.
Of course you're drawn to him. Of course you want to be the person you were when you met him who hadn't seen all this shit. And then they do this amazing reveal where you see all these scars on her body. And he kind of goes, whoa, what the fuck have you been up to?
Yeah.
And it's really affecting that she's like... She doesn't want to be his woman, but she wants to have sex. Like,
she doesn't want to die a virgin. Yeah.
But she also is just like, look, I've never had a selfish moment my whole life. I've never been indulgent, and I just want to be with someone, and it's really like poignant, I think. And I think there's so much like, I don't know if it's been like the pandemic, but like watching it, I was like, everyone is like on the edge here.
Yeah.
Even the Brienne and Jaime stuff, which I don't think is particularly well done. I think they fall into this trap of like everyone should have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. It's still, their connection does sort of shine through, and
I think
it's a really sweet episode. It
is, and it's tender. You felt you felt the weight of what was happening. You know, kind of. I watched it. I remember watching it for the first time and watched it when I watched it again. I genuinely got that feeling of being tired, and it being like 3 a.m, and kind of like that feeling of kind of like we've got a big day ahead tomorrow. We should get to sleep, but you know, the adrenaline. It's like, you know, as a kid at Christmas Eve, you just can't sleep, and you know, I loved it, and because it was just a great leveler, you know, as war tends to be, I guess. You know, they were all there, especially the scene with Tormund drinking whatever the fuck it was from his fermented ewe's milk or something. What was it? It was something.
It's like Tom from Succession's fermented German wine. It's like the sort of northern
Tormund drank things that shouldn't necessarily ever be drunk.
I think so. There's a real recklessness to like everyone's just like
fuck it.
And I just think this show, like, we've spent a decade with these characters, and to have them all sitting around shooting the shit, I'm like, this is television to me. Like, I love the next episode, but I don't need like Hollywood blockbuster cinematography fighting.
Yeah.
You know, especially when, like, I mean, there's some of the logistics of this, and I don't want to. Next week, when I'm not going all in on like, well, they should have flanked on the left. Like, I don't know how to fucking fight a load of dead people. No. But this is the stuff that really hits you in the heart, which is like all these people that are just going. I mean, the fact that Jamie's there, I thought on the first watch, I was like, you just need him there because he's got nothing to do in the South. But I believe him when he says he wants to fight for the living. I believe him when he feels that he needs to leave Cersei.
It was a reward. It's just such a rewarding episode for viewers, you know, because you're getting.
It is.
You know, and not casual viewers, although it's very difficult to be a casual viewer of Game of Thrones anyway. But for people that feel for Brienne and have some sympathy and empathy for Jaime's, you know, his kind of conflicts with Cersei. You know, it's nice to see. Yeah. These people share a moment together, and just that feeling of this could be our last day on Earth is something that because it's quite a primal thing. You know, we've all thought it. You know, if you only had 24 hours left on Earth, what would you do? And it turns out,
and just where would you go mentally with the people that you're with on that last day?
Yeah,
I mean, you just would you just let it out, and I think, I thought the whole thing about. I don't know, like, I remember watching it and thinking when Tyrion's like, why can't a woman be a knight? I was like, is that really what your character would say? I always felt it was so forced that the writers were like, what if everyone on the show is actually a feminist? But then I watched it and I was like, this show taught us to be scared of everything and frightened of everything, and everyone in it is evil. Yeah. And I just wonder if the show's pivot to a sort of kinder world is just jarring for us because we're so used to this show just treating everyone like shit.
Yeah.
That when they all go, hey, you are just as good as any of us, you should have equal rights. I know it seems on the nose, but when I watched it in this last time, I was like, I have the capacity to take this, to meet this sentiment where it is, which is, okay. Whereas I think the first time around, I was like, in a society as this, the woman, she would be cleaning the toilet. And I just thought, like, what a load of bullshit that they'd all change their prerogative on the night of this. But
I think just everyone was just paying respects to each other, paying their respects. From everybody. It wasn't just that in that room. You had Gilly. There was a nice moment with Gilly with that kid, the young kid that was going to be brave and wanted to fight, and Gilly was just like,
oh my god, yeah,
you're better. I need someone brave. Like, she was a bit Kate Middleton. I need someone brave like you in the looking after us women. That kind of thing was really,
I completely forgot about the Gilly scene, I have to say.
Yeah, it was really nice. It was just a nice little.
But it is good. I do remember. Yeah.
And it was slightly reminiscent. It was also it showed how different it was from the last time that there was a war, like the Battle of Blackwater, and people being cooped up in the back, was so different in terms of mood with Cersei, with the milk of the thistle and stuff like that, milk of the poppy or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. There was, and everyone had a moment. Grey Worm and Missandei were planning their abandonment to Benidorm. Once this is all out, why don't you and I just go somewhere hot?
Yeah, we can work remotely. It was their sort of.
Exactly. That was it. That was the Tormund thing, where he told the story about a giant shagger I suckled at the teat for 3 months. That was like,
yeah. And everyone's a bit like freaked out by it. It's a bit like, I don't know if you've ever been on a stag do where everyone just starts sharing stories after a few drinks, and everyone's like sharing conquest, and then someone comes out with this.
Oh, there was the time when I ate a turd, and it's like,
yeah,
what?
and you're just like, someone's like, yeah, I wanked in front of a dog, and you're like, what? We're not all at that point.
You're 4 shots ahead of us. Yeah.
Yeah, someone just comes out with a thing where they're like, yeah, I just love it when people get hit by buses, and you're like, what? We were just talking about like kissing people.
Yeah.
Like consensually. And you're like, whoa, there's always someone, and that was Tormund just being like,
yeah, exactly,
just sucking a giant's teeth.
We did get a little bit of plot development as well, or at least some kind of explanation. So Bran did go into.
Oh, we did, yes, the war room sort of situation.
Yeah, and
right.
Exactly why the Night King was doing what he was doing, which I'd kind of, we mentioned it and stuff, but he mentioned, all the Night King wants is an endless night. I am the world's memory, and that's what death is to him, is getting rid of those memories. So, like you were right, it's about getting rid of the memories of men, so that no stories.
It's really interesting. I remember at the time being like, oh, they've just dropped this in, but we talked about this, I think, when we did season 6 or 7, that actually a lot of the show makes sense when you realise he's after the three-eyed raven, and that three-eyed raven has changed.
Yeah.
All this time, they've not been coming south. They've been circling where the three-eyed raven is, trying to find him, to eliminate him.
Yeah.
Bran goes, he dies, transfers the knowledge, Bran goes south, and they come with him.
Yeah.
Because I think the thing that people thought for the longest time was like, how fucking long does it take to get south? But they weren't going south until Bran came back.
He's not trying to get on the throne. He doesn't give a shit about the throne.
He's not. He's trying to wipe
care about the
out.
Iron Bank.
He's not coming for Cersei, actually, when you think about it.
Yeah.
So I found that really, really interesting. Yeah. And it really does change the show. And now I think the White Walker stuff generally suffers from, like, they don't say a word, they don't have any real feelings.
Yeah.
But this episode with Bran, they figured out that, like, they had to use Bran as a sort of piece of meat and put him in the God's Wood.
Yeah.
Theon's like, I mean,
well, because otherwise Bran would have just been locked in the room in the crypt with Sansa and Gilly and all the kids.
But the crypts that there's like 11 locked door. I'm like, if the White Walkers can find the way in, they can fucking kill him and have him. Yeah. Do you know when you're just like, it's not like you just have to walk into one room. It's a fucking castle.
Yeah.
I do think, like, I'd sort of love to watch just a camera at all of them going like, have you tried this door?
Just like an aerial shot of them opening cupboards and looking under beds and
just like I'm stuck. Because he's got this mark on his arm.
Like fucking the White Walkers walking down like Scooby-Doo, and there's like John and they're in night like
going
armor,
the other way,
standing there just like.
Bran's in like under like a giant vase,
tablecloth, like holding a banana with an apple on his head.
Yeah, and his like squeaky wheels like tip him off. But this is the thing, because he has the mark, so the White Walker can find him in like a GPS sense. But if he's like, which of these 9 doors gets me
is he going to be behind? Yeah.
But the thing is, again, I don't really think the payoff works next episode. But Theon is like, what if me and the Ironborn, who have only just decided to follow me, protect you and us alone? And everyone's like, that's a good idea.
I think. I think
a hater just being like,
I think
what's going on?
I think that was there purely as a service to. They have to do something with Theon. They wanted Theon to have a fully redemptive arc, and he does have that. He has one of the best deaths. I love it.
One of the most significant. The show would not work the way it did without him doing what he did.
Exactly.
So I think you're right.
And also it solves the problem. It's just like, well, we've got Theon here. What's he going to do? Is he just going to be another Jorah? Is he just going to be kind of in the mix?
If I was Bran, who ran away from home because Theon and the Ironborn murdered all of my family, and then pretended I was burnt alive, and he goes, "Hey, Bran, me and the Ironborn are going to look after you," I'd be like,
don't you worry, son. It's like, can I just have the Hound as well? Yeah.
Can I have any of the 50 people that have turned up? Jamie, John would be good.
John would be great.
Arya, who's like, she can like sneak up on people. They're like, no. What if Theon, who, bear in mind, was castrated like 18 months ago, briefly thought he was a slave called Reek, and I think that's like a few fingers missing. He's like, I'll be the one to defend you.
I'll protect you. Yeah.
Thanks for giving me a lift to the bus stop in your car that doesn't work.
I'm just looking through my list of other stuff.
One of the big things in this episode, that again I don't think it really is particularly well done, is the Daenerys Sansa clash.
Yeah.
Sansa's decided recently, and I can't trace it, but she's decided the North should be an independent nation, and there's conflict there. And I always found this a very odd. I get it in principle, but I'm like, Daenerys, it does have 2 dragons, and it's a bit like the way that she's deferential to Sansa is quite interesting.
I think that's probably for Jon's benefit. I guess that the whole North as an independent state, I think it's quite a little fingery kind of like she has.
Oh yeah.
That's something that he would whisper in her ear at some point, but it makes a lot of sense because it solves all of the discord between the Mormonts and whatnot. It's like, okay, the North will be separate. We'll be like the Monaco in the middle of or the Vatican City in the middle of Rome or whatever.
And she's also kind of saying to Daenerys, like, I'm going to give you one big problem that you don't have to worry about, because the North is gigantic compared to the other.
You deal with all the rich sunshine states down at the bottom.
Like, look, dragons. We don't have nice wine.
Yeah.
We're miserable.
Yeah.
And you never have to visit.
Yeah, you never have to come here. Just leave us to it.
It's kind of like how the Queen was sort of like in charge of Australia, but they were like, leave it to us.
Yeah, don't come over. It's the flight.
And
it's too long. Yeah.
She's like, are you guys good? And they're like,
yeah,
we're fine. We've got, bananas growing or whatever. I don't know.
But
do they grow bananas in Australia?
Do they have bananas in Australia? I would imagine so.
That was the first thing I thought of with what's they eat in Australia? What's their like fruits?
Vegemite. What?
Do they not have like do they have pineapples in Australia?
What do you mean, like natively growing the fruit?
Yeah, what's the thing that they grow in Australia? Like, what do they grow? Coconut? No, not coconut.
What is happening?
I've never been before.
Have you taken drink?
No, well, I had a drink earlier, but not...
I don't know.
Not in a significant way.
What fruit grows... I don't know why we're talking... What fruit grows... I'm typing, by the way, in Australia.
I think we should do more evening podcasts, because I think the vibe is quite good.
This is... Yeah. Okay.
Do they have any native fruits?
What fruits grow naturally? Australia grows a wide range of deciduous fruits, including apple, pear, grape, nashi, I guess. I've never heard of that before. Of course, kiwi fruit would be New Zealand, surely.
Yeah, God, the answer was
anyway,
right in the face.
That was a little sidebar there.
If anyone does have any thoughts on that, please
yeah, Dragoncast at Daft Doris.
But yeah, I don't love the Sansa Daenerys stuff. I think they're both it's a bit forced, but
you can tell that they've gone right. Here's where we went. Here's where we want to end. We want to end with Sansa as the Queen of the North. We 100%. Want to end with Bran as Bran the Thinker, a storyteller. What was
Bran the Broken?
Bran the Broken. Yeah. So we need to kind of start shaping them into that, and and I wonder if Tyrion's idea for Bran the Broken stems from this night, from when Bran told the story of why the Night King in front of Tyrion as to why the Night King's coming, because he holds all the stories of the world. That was just a little observation. Podrick ended with a song. Was it Jenny Was a Friend of Mine, or was that the Killers?
Jenny of Oldstones.
Jenny Was a Friend of Mine. That was the Killers.
Yes.
Jenny of Oldstones.
Love that song.
Good song.
He does this song, and then Florence and the Machine covers it in the credits. It was released. I think they released it, and it did really well. It's all just got this incredibly harrowing atmosphere.
Yeah.
Did you think? Okay, I mean, we'll kind of maybe get into this next week, but like, I thought more people were about to die than died.
Well, I mean, this was the thing. This is the same. We mentioned Avengers Endgame earlier on as well, and same thing with that. It's like you think you look at it and you go, okay, this is the last season. There's going to be no more. It doesn't really matter. I mean, they've not got to service a plot past this. Surely, for devastating effect, they're going to sigh through half of this cast.
Literally, I mean, Brienne would have been a good one to kill off because it's a lot of resolution.
Who did we lose? We lose Jorah. That was
Jorah, Theon. Lyanna Mormont, bless her. She literally gets like punched in the entire body by a giant, doesn't she?
After stabbing it in the eye.
It sort of falls on her. It's all awful. Let's jump ahead and just see who does die in the next episode. Melisandre does die. She sort of like takes her necklace off and walks off and it crumbles away.
Was that in this episode or the end episode?
No, so I'm just saying in the next episode. I was like, who are we about to lose? Who are we about to lose?
So I expected Brienne. I thought, are we going to lose one of the Stark kids?
I thought, yeah.
Bronn.
This is the thing. I think like Bronn absolutely.
It's like
biggest loser of this season.
Grey Worm.
I thought Grey Worm could have been a good one here.
Yeah,
because the thing about Grey Worm is he's like a really good loyal foot soldier.
Yeah,
but Daenerys has bigger characters supporting her that can be her kind of army man.
Yeah.
He would be a good loss, but I guess Jorah is the loss of that sort of part of her
which
life.
Makes sense.
And it is sad. But I thought there'd have been a bit more. I thought Brienne would have been a really smart one to kill off after being knighted. Dying a knight is so much better than living as someone who's not been given that status.
Yeah.
But they didn't sort of.
If they ever remake it, we can be the showrunners.
I think they were a little cagier about it than they thought. But
there was also. Sorry, Karen.
Sorry. You go.
Well, I was going to say there was also the accumulation of this episode was that
oh my god,
that Jon revealed to Daenerys that who the fuck he was, and Daenerys turned it into a gender war. Rather
and
than
then the fucking horn blows. It's like it is actually. I mean, I remember that as one of the biggest cliffhangers because I was like, fuck.
Yeah, and also the horn blew, and I was just like, they haven't had any sleep at all. They're all literally still awake, just drinking fucking giant's milk or whatever it is.
Arya and Gendry must be knackered.
Yeah.
So this. Do you feel? I want to. My feeling is by this point on the rewatch, I'm sort of like, Daenerys has absolutely lost it.
Yeah.
But the first time around, I was like, what's going on with her? But I think this time, once you know where it goes, it does feel like it is falling into place in a more satisfying way.
Yeah, it's as I've always said, the signs for Daenerys were always there.
Yeah,
they were always there. I think and like you say, the first time you watch it, because you're not looking out for that stuff. You're not looking out for the subtleties. You're looking for the big moments.
I think we thought the show was about her, and it still is. It still is about her, but in death, it's about her.
The fact that she turned out not to be, was the biggest plot twist.
But I think there's a lot of. I mean, I don't know how much room next week we can talk about it, or next episode about all the prophecy stuff. But there's all this stuff in the books that is touched on in the show about Azor Ahai. The prince
I was reading about. Well, let's make it. Let's do
a little corner for that next
and if anyone's got any, if you're listening, I hope you're listening,
because that's where people, I think, were like, wait, what does any of this mean?
Why is there a red comet in the sky? What's happened to that? What are the unanswered questions of Game of Thrones for the prophecies? Get in touch. Let us know at the usual places.
Yeah, I think I'd really like listeners to just let us know what are some of the unanswered things about this season as it touches on those areas, but also just in the interest of both sidism, what are the most satisfying moments for you? Because I think my thing is just the scope of things that aren't addressed. I mean, like, Sam gives Jorah his father's Valyrian steel sword in this episode. Jon has Longclaw, but like none of it really matters because they don't use it to kill the Night King, and it's sort of like, I remember in the lead up to this season, there was articles online that were like, where are all the Valyrian steel swords? Who's got them? Because it was like, this is really important. And it's like, what they decided sort of late in the game is if you kill the Night King, everything ends. And so you don't need 6 Valyrian steel swords, really.
Yeah.
And Dragonfire is effective until it isn't.
Yeah. It became just not effective. Oh, it doesn't work.
They say in this
after
episode,
all that, it doesn't work. Yeah.
Yeah, but they say in this episode, like, well, what if we just burn him with Dragonfire? And Bran goes, I don't know. It's never happened before.
Yeah,
it's like, sorry.
Been tried. Yeah.
You can view everything that's ever happened ever, and you're like, sorry, file not found.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why do we put him in rice? Just turn him off and turn him on again. He's not working.
Yeah. But the reveal.
But I don't want to be too.
No, but the reveal didn't go too well. It was quite an underwhelming reveal as well. Like this was RNL equals J. RNL equals J.
RNL equals J. Yeah.
Which was like the big moment. And I know there's been like, this was probably like the third time. There's the time that Sam and Bran discovered it. There was the time that Sam told Jon.
There was the moment that Bran saw it in season 6. There's the moment that Sam's found out in season 7, and then season 8 we find out that Bran and Sam put their heads together, and so it's taken a minute. It's been like 2 seasons. But I mean, it's just, it does feel a bit underwhelming the way that the show deals with it. They haven't got time. That's the one thing I just want more time. 7, 8 episodes would be good. The thing about it is, and I mean, I just want to reiterate that, like, rewatching this season, I love where this season goes.
Good.
But what I think the show maybe didn't count on at the time was that these episodes are as good as or bigger than the battles. I could have another episode of people figuring shit out.
Yeah. No, I get that. Although
Daenerys going through, maybe it would have been overkill.
Although on the flip side, The Long Night is a very different episode.
Yes.
But it's the money shot in a lot of ways, and it's also arguably what should have been the last ever episode of Game of Thrones.
Well, it definitely, yeah. We talked about this in a previous episode about how maybe the Cersei stuff should have been resolved first.
Yeah, 100%.
And then because after this, you're just like, why does any of this matter?
It all feels like an epilogue after this.
I mean, I think it must be on some level a spreading the budget out thing where we're like, we need to do this in episode 3.
Yeah, maybe.
I think it must be.
Yeah.
But I do think, I think you're right. I mean, I've only seen this episode that we're going to see next. I've only seen it once.
I caught it once in the interim during lockdown, I think, on Sky, when it was just like, it's on constant rotation on there.
Really?
And I was just like, I've settled in. I've just watched the last half hour of this. It's like a video game.
I think actually, having seen The Last of Us, I think we're going to quite enjoy that even more.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I've always loved it. I thought it was just one of the most brilliantly choreographed, exciting.
I also think knowing what happens makes enjoying it a bit easier. Like, because I think you watch it going, well, why didn't Arya get killed? I mean, what I do remember is her running through the library or the study or whatever it is.
Yeah,
is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, just brilliant.
There's loads. It's all good. It's all good. But
it's fab.
Yeah. So that's the next. Well, we'll do 3 and 4, I guess, because I think 4 there's not a lot to talk about.
We lose Derek Don. Derek. We lose Beric Don. We lose Beric Dondarrion.
Derek Bombarian. You're like that guy from Phone Hacker.
Is he still with us? Or is he gone now? Has Beric died yet, or is he still with us? I think he dies in. No, he's still with us because he killed the Umber kid, didn't he, with his flaming sword? We lose him in the battle, don't we?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, listen. Loved that. Oh, I'm so glad we're back in the.
I know, but once you're back in, you're just like, God, let's just watch episode 3 now.
Exactly. Let's just have a quick. Let me just check the old comments and see. It's been a while. Let's just see what people have said. As ever, if you want to get in touch, just you can either comment on underneath YouTube. We do read them. Give us a tweet, Dragoncast_pod on Twitter, or email dragoncast@daftdoris.com. Okay. Let's go. We're getting quite a lot of. Apologies if you're listening on YouTube. I wasn't aware that the volume has been so low on the vast majority of our YouTube clips. So I'm really sorry about that. That's just me. I apologise for that. But hopefully that's all been sorted out now. Thanks, Arthur. Christina, goodness me, it's been a long time since The Dragon and the Wolf. Christina Borden, I had to switch from Spotify to YouTube just to watch Chris turn 5 shades of red when Jamie starts talking about Theon's clitty thing.
Oh my God, I did. We've done so many podcasts together, Jamie. That was one of the worst things you've ever said, and I was so not expecting it. I just completely, I didn't know what to do. Also, I sometimes forget these are being recorded. So, like, what people are getting is pure, untapped Chris reactions.
Oh dear, there's plenty more where that came from. Thank you very much.
Oh my Lord.
The Sayadina said, I'm very late to this episode, so apologies. This is in reference to the Winds of Winter, Season 6, Episode 10. Regarding RNL equals J book show, the book's first. The Tower of Joy is a recurring memory dream of Ned's and appears halfway through the first book. 7 of Ned's men versus 3 Kingsguard, including the Lord Commander of the KG and Rhaegar's BFF, Sir Arthur Dane, the Sword of the Morning, one of the best swordsmen of the... hang on a sec. Christ, he's written a whole fucking essay
this
here.
is... Sir Arthur Dane is like one of the best there is.
Yeah.
And the story is that Ned defeated him. And the point of the flashback is... the Tower of Joy flashback is that he sort of ganged up on him. It was him and Robert Baratheon.
Right.
So Ned's got this kind of shame that he did best this guy, but sort of in quite ungentlemanly fashion. Not to talk over that very sort of long comment, but I just to sort of like, you know, you're reading it literally right now. I'm just sort of like giving you a bit of background.
I'm not going to read it out because it's you've, and thank you so much for writing it, because you've written basically a fantastic essay there. Go and have a look at it. It's in the comments of Season 6, Episode 10, Winds of Winter on our YouTube page, but it goes into the whole backstory of RNL equals J. It's really, really interesting.
That's what's really hard about, you know, the show approaching it, is that as he said, like, a lot of this is Ned's interior dialogue with himself about his and so then you can't do it like that in Season 6 because you're like, well, he's not been around for a minute, so we kind of got it through Bran, which is really clever. I love that. Thanks for that comment.
So that's it. Season 8, Episode 1 and 2 are done. Next week, I'm going to say next week, we promise.
What are we doing?
Is going to be Season 8, Episodes 3 and 4. The Long Night and... what's the other one called?
It's The Last of the Starks is Episode 4.
Amazing. Amazing. So that's
I'm already looking at my diary to make sure we've got time in to do it next week.
Well, we've got a big... I've already seen the episode of Succession that we're going to be doing.
I know. Well, we were going to do we were going to do.
I know. I was so cross because I watched it and I was like, "Oh shit! I can't do the teaser about the. I can't realistically do the reaction about the trailer."
It's fine. It's fine. No, we've got that on Monday, and got 2 more to go.
Exactly. We'll get it done.
But I was texting you, and you were like, it's not giving anything away.
Not giving anything away, but the finale.
Very excitable.
Yeah. It is
Jamie.
nasty.
Does shit go down?
Shit goes down.
Oh my god, it's fucking crazy this show though, because like you think you know how much shit is going to go down, and then more shit goes down in way. Like I just can't get my head. I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I mean, I felt like this was Game of Thrones first watch, and Succession, and all the things that we've watched together. But all the other things, I am so excited. For
exciting.
Fucking hell.
So join us if you're with us for the Sound of Succession. We'll see you Monday. If you're with us just for Thrones, sorry it's been so long, but we're back, baby. We're back. We've got 2 more episodes of this to do, which is really sad.
It's really, really sad, and we're going to miss it when it's gone.
But this is our penultimate record because
we're going to do a live.
We're going to do the live one for episodes 5 and 6.
And we're going to do 2 episodes live, which is crazy.
It's going to be great.
So we have to figure that out logistically because we want people to watch it with us.
Yeah, I think we'll work it out.
And get involved.
Yeah,
we can't just do it on a Monday afternoon.
No, we'll do it
in our pants. We need to bring people with us.
You know what? We've timed it quite well. Actually, what the break has served us is the fact that we could do it on a Monday evening because there won't be any Succession on.
That is a good point. That's a very shiv.
Yeah.
No, but I've been doing this. Since going, it's awful, isn't it? Yeah. But I do it, and as soon as you clocked it, I was like,
right. We will see you on Monday for Succession, and later on in the week for 3 and 4 of Game of Thrones. Until then, Dracarys.
Dracarys, my friend.